Fox News covered Biden's pick for Health and Human Services. Now, in my opinion, this guy is one of Biden's best picks because he supports Medicare for all, and he's actually been a pretty aggressive advocate for Medicare for all. So look at that. Good on Joe for picking somebody decent for Health and Human Services. Look at what they have to say about him on Fox News.
Javier spent a career fighting to expand access to health care, reducing racial health disparities, protecting the Affordable Care Act, and take on powerful special interests to prey on profit off of people's health.
So how is he going to help small business? How is he going to do? He's focusing on in his other comment on race, on equity, and literally he says millions of small business owners are counting on us. Small business owners? What?
Small business owners are going broke. They almost went broke the first time under Obamacare, and expansion will ensure that fact. Now, he's the wrong person for the wrong job at the wrong time, and he can do a lot of damage. He can do a lot of damage by redefining Medicare, for one, right in the middle of a pandemic. We used to say when you turn 62, there are certain benefits you waited your entire life for, and they're unique. And when you have Medicare for, as he said, for all, you have it for nobody.
When you have Medicare for all, you have Medicare for nobody. I've been around a long time, man. I've been doing this show full-time since late 2012, early 2013, okay? I have never, in that entire span from 2012 until now, heard an argument dumber than this one, which has been repeated ad nauseum, ad infinitum. Medicare for all is Medicare for nobody? I'm reminded of that GIF that has like the girl, like woman confused looking around, and you see like all these equations popping up around her face. Like, what? Medicare for all is Medicare for nobody. So by expanding Medicare to everybody, you're actually doing the opposite and taking it away from everybody. That's like saying Canada has universal health care, and it's universal for nobody. Actually, nobody has health care there. Everybody does have health care, though. In every other developed country, there's one version or another of universal health care. You can't just assert that by doing universal coverage, you actually have the opposite and nobody has coverage. But they do. They do. And what this tells me, guys, is they're lazy propagandists. They're barely even trying. They've had it so easy for so long that they didn't have to sharpen their rhetorical skills and their debate skills and come up with plausible-sounding arguments. You want to know why? Because there's an entire giant industry behind this propaganda and this notion that, you know, the for-profit health insurance companies are good and necessary and important and can't be messed with. And so when you have Humana and Aetna and Blue Cross Blue Shield and all of these companies spending so much money on lobbying Congress and having such a grip on the system, they've gotten lazy. They've gotten lazy, and so their propagandists are shitty. All this, you couldn't come up with a better argument all this fucking time. You couldn't come up with a better argument than Medicare for all is actually Medicare for nobody. By giving it to everybody, you're giving it to nobody. I seriously am floored. I'm never going to get over how terrible an argument that is. Because it's not even an argument. It's just asserting that by having universal health care, we have non-universal health care, and in fact, we take it away from everybody. Okay, so a few points there. They're mocking this idea that, like, Biden and this guy would help small business, right? But the funny thing is, again, they're so lazy. It doesn't take that long when you research this topic to find out very quickly that, yes, the best case scenario for small businesses in the United States of America is if we had a Medicare for all system. Why? Because a lot of people get health care through their job, and the employer has to provide the health care. And so if you take this out of the private market, you take a giant burden off of every small business in this country. Do you not understand that? That, like, it's a giant headache to deal with healthcare for yourself and your employees, and then if you have Medicare for all, you remove that entire burden. You remove the entire burden. So it would be wonderful to do that. And yes, Medicare for all would help small businesses. And then they mess up because he admits something there that if he thought about it, he would have never said this, because there's the admission that's embedded in this is telling. He says, we all used to think that when you turn 62, there are benefits that you've waited your entire life for, and they just want to come along and give them to everybody. So wait, one of your arguments is that actually universal healthcare, Medicare for all, is terrible and evil, and it would be bad, and you wouldn't even like it. That's your argument most of the time. But right there, you just admitted, hey, when you turn 62, there are benefits you've waited your entire life for, so it should be the moment of like, yes, I got my benefits finally at 62, this is great. So is it positive or negative that you get those benefits? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Because half the time you say it's a bad thing, and you think Medicare for all provides worse quality care and all that shit, but you just admitted there that, like, it's actually like a party when you turn 62 and you're like, yes, I finally get these benefits, which are awesome. Which is it? Are they awesome or are they terrible? Again, they have a giant problem. They're actually losing the messaging war now. They've been so lazy for so long, and there's such a giant industry behind trying to fight Medicare for all and crush Medicare for all. But, like, again, they haven't had to actually engage in this fight for the longest time. Well, now we have a strong pro-Medicare for all movement. And they have no counter-arguments. Forget counter-arguments. They have no arguments. They have no good points. And so, yes, we run circles around them 24/7 when we talk about, you know, the best healthcare systems. But to this point, they've simply coasted off the fact that they have all the institutional power and money. So we need to chip away at that. But, like, again, you can see very clearly, based off all the talking points here, it's built on a foundation of quicksand. The whole system, their whole argument is built on a foundation of quicksand. They got nothing, man. They got nothing. And when it comes to changing people's minds, I can guarantee you, don't take my word for it, don't take anybody's word for it. You go look at the studies. Go look at the studies, the Commonwealth Fund study that ranks the healthcare systems around the world. And one of the more recent studies, I think they do it every couple of years or something, but we ranked 11th out of 11. So they studied 11 healthcare systems. We were dead last. And of course, the best systems in the world, all the time when they rank them, they're universal healthcare systems, single-payer healthcare systems. So, I mean, what else is there to say? They're lazy in their attacks. And I will end on this point. I wish the Joe Biden that existed is the Joe Biden that they think exists. You know, I wish the fact that Joe Biden picked this guy to lead Health and Human Services, I wish that was an indication that Joe Biden secretly supported Medicare for all. He doesn't. And this guy, you know, will be restricted in some ways from doing the stuff that he wants to do, that he's on the record of calling for. But I wish the Fox News version of Joe Biden was correct, because then Joe Biden would be the biggest badass in the world. Unfortunately, that's not the reality. Joe Biden is a lot more like a moderate Republican than they like to give credit for. But this shows you what the opposition is made of in this discussion on Medicare for all. They misstate basic facts. They don't get anything right. They pretend like there's no benefit for small businesses to do this. They say Medicare for all is Medicare for none. It's honestly embarrassing. It's truly embarrassing that anybody could fall for these arguments.